My name's Tony Lott. I'm the general manager at Fred Bean's Kia in Langhorne. I just wanted to take a minute to talk about Larry Feldman, Career Changers USA. Larry and I have been working together for about the last 12 years now, and anything I've ever needed as far as recruiting, training, Larry has been right there. Larry's got me salespeople, he's got me managers, he's got me technicians even through the toughest times in the industry, and he is just the kind of guy who's going to tell you exactly what's on his mind. He's going to tell you exactly what he thinks. But Larry also has the expertise to back it up. When he was in the dealership world, he was a top performer, and that's really important to my staff, especially as it pertains to training. A lot of people can come in and teach out of a textbook, but Larry has real-world experience dealing with customers, dealing with situations in dealerships that we go through on a daily basis and try to train on. But Larry's been through it, so he can really empathize with the people and tell you what's worked for him and maybe what way not to go. Larry is just always at a 10. I mean, his energy level is always up there, and I think people, they just love that and they feed off of it. He's not faking it. He is genuinely excited to come in and help you. He's excited to come in and help grow your business. And he's one of those people who just really enjoys seeing dealers succeed and have a lot of fun at the same time.
All right. Life is about connection. Having a support system to lean on. And roads to endless possibility. At every turn, guiding the way, we are building the connections that move you.
So what would your dealership feel like if your entire sales staff was literally on fire, your sales and service staff? They were nonstop all over social media, completely dominating your marketplace. They could do it in 30 days or less and then continue their education to do it for an entire 6 months or a year. You literally would completely take over the entire marketplace and no one would be able to compete with you. And that's what we can do for you. So when you're walking around your community, whether you're at local restaurants or you're going to the gym, if you don't want to be bothered, fine, you won't be bothered. But a lot of people will walk up to you and say, oh my God, I love your social media. Your staff is amazing. We love what you're doing in the community. We want to come buy a car from you. We want to get an oil change at your dealership. Your community is absolutely going to love you. And it doesn't matter what platform you're on. You could be on TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all social media platforms. You will literally be all over the place. And not only will you have ads running, but your own staff is going to be promoting your brand and promoting themselves within the dealership and within the business. So it's like running an ad times 100-fold because your entire staff is participating in the process. I've traveled all over North America. I've trained Toyota. I've trained Nissan. I've been to driving sales. I've been to Women in Auto. I get hired as a speaker for conferences at universities all over the country. And I can help change the trajectory of your dealership right now.
Hey, if you miss us live, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcast.
Well, this is Ian, Larry Feldman, and Brian Kramer.
Brian Kramer, just in case you didn't know Brian.
So we're here at ASOTU-CON, subtly in the backdrop here. So I guess we had some questions since we had Mr. Kramer on for the first was at Metaverse car sale. That was a couple of years ago, I think. So what's changed? What's new? What's going on?
Well, if you remember, there's elements of the metaverse. I know everybody wants to say that's dead, but the basics of it is blockchain and then artificial intelligence.
Right.
Virtual reality was supposed to be like the last phase of it.
Right.
So right now, obviously, AI. We saw it yesterday with the Google I/O conference, and it's absolutely disrupting the entire market, and faster than anybody can keep up with. Faster than I can read on Google or on ChatGPT what it's doing. So I think that over the next 3 to 5 years, you're going to see warranty administration revolutionized, accounting back offices revolutionized, all the stuff that happens behind the scenes that most people don't think about. That's just an if this then that formula. I think it's definitely going to have consolidation, standardization, and I think that it's not going to necessarily be it will be some in the customer facing world, but I think you're going to see it more in the back office and behind the scenes.
Interesting. We did the AIO show on Monday, and it was interesting because we had a variety of guests, including the data person from CDK Global, which was kind of interesting. And actually, she was analytic, but not so analytic that she didn't have a sense of humor, which was quite interesting. And Larry actually witnessed the show. I think he was driving. But so with AI, being that that's very topical, and there was a lot of dealers going, yeah, I bought some technology, but I'm not sure if it's good. I'm not sure people can handle it. What do you think the best way to implement AI is for a dealer who maybe bought a few tools at, I don't know, NADA, for example?
So I think that's the most important piece. Yeah. And I think that most dealers don't think about that. They think that it's just like a website widget. You can set it and forget it. Right. And it's absolutely not the case. The best dealers that I work with are training that thing on a regular basis. They're routing all of their communication through the AI tool, then back into the CRM, or for whatever provider they have. But if you don't train it, it's going to spit out some very weird things. Or if you're in an AI tool that has a lot of bad dealers in it, then you're also going to be subject to whatever it's been taught. So it's critically important that for the first 3 to 6 months that you have a champion. I think every dealership needs to have an AI champion for websites, for lead response, for internet handling, not to mention the phone and the voice stuff that's happening. Right. But it's critically important that it's tied to your brand, the way that you want your brand represented, no differently than branding on a website or advertising consistency. You got to have the same thing. Email templates and CRM templates are going to be, they're already dinosaurs.
Hey, wait a minute. I think Brian Kramer finally tied AI into the human side. Because just like AI with humans, if you don't train them right, they spit out some pretty weird stuff too.
I think AI is going to be the key to unlocking human-to-human interaction. Because who wants to go through 100 tasks and leave all those voicemails and all the text messages? They're not doing them anyway, right? No. Everybody says they are, but they're not. And AI is going to be able to do all that stuff so you can have fun again.
Brian, it's been my experience that any dealer that tells you how great his website is has never been on his own website.
Right. And it's an ecosystem. It's a living, breathing thing. It's like a garden, right? If you're not, pulling out the weeds and putting fertilizer on it, it's not going to grow. And it's not going to be what you want the end result to be.
And it's okay to say weed in Baltimore. I think right now somebody's breaking into my car, so it's fine.
I just smelled it on the way in here through the casino, so yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there was actually some tea here at the free tea and coffee bar, and it was something in bud, and I'm like, is that tea or is that something else?
Well, considering you're looking at me with a squirrel foot,
So what else is new? You're now working for a different company. I believe you were in retail last time we saw you in terms of an interview. So what's changed and what's going on and how can we help?
So now I'm working for Cars Commerce, AccuTrade, trying to revolutionize the way that people appraise cars virtually. It doesn't matter if it's in the showroom, service drive, a website, text. Our goal is to decentralize appraisals to make it just like sending somebody a credit application. That you send them the appraisal, that anybody can do it. And we've got dealerships. One of them is going to be on stage tomorrow, Joel Bassam from Eastern's Auto Group. Yeah. And they've got, I think, 70 people appraising cars. We've got a lot of dealerships. We've got 50 or more people. And they've just let go of that control. And instead of having a pinch point where everybody, you got the micromanager that says, no, nobody can appraise cars like me. I'm the only person on earth that can do this. I would trust Bob Hollinshead's numbers. That's just me.
For anybody that doesn't know, Bob Hollinshead is a cross between Albert Einstein and Idi Amin.
That's perfectly said. I'm stealing that because that's and a great visual. So
you mean other people can appraise cars other than the manager who wants to do all of the work?
It's kind of like AI, right? So why do you want to go through and do all those things? Why does a highly compensated used car director need to be touching every tire, hopefully they're driving the cars, which doesn't happen every time, but when you have a salesperson doing it, we find that they're significantly more accurate because they're getting hijacked less. They're getting less interruptions.
Wait a minute. I don't mean to interrupt, but think about also the fact that how easy it is to waylay and distract the salesperson. And if you have a manager that's putting one more step in the process and might not be the most upbeat person, you can really push them backward. I mean, everything I ever did that made any sense was because I was excited. Welcome to, how are you? I say it all the time, Bri. Whoever you're living with, I got a beautiful wife. You go home, you're having a rotten day. Bob made you crazy, 3 dealers made you insane. And she says, what's wrong? Well, how does she know there's something wrong? Is there like a neon sign over your head? No, it's all over your face.
Right.
So when a manager's like, that car, as opposed to everybody's involved in the process, everybody owns the process. As long as there's one process, not multiple ones.
And consistency is the key. And that's the only way that you can make it that consistent. But how many times do you go into a dealership and somebody's like, I just don't have time to hire people. I don't have time to train them.
Wait a minute, first I have to wake the manager up before that discussion can take place.
It's always, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this. I don't have, who's going to do
I
this?
saw an awesome cartoon 10 years ago, which made me laugh my butt off. A guy is trying to explain to a general that he has a product, and he's shooting a bow and arrow, goes, I don't have time, and the guy has a Gatling gun. if we're not open to what could happen, everything's impossible right up until the minute it happens. I love to ask students, what was penicillin derived from? Moldy bread.
Right.
Okay. The Beatles were so little thought of. They put them with George Martin, who produced comedy records. Yeah, put them with that guy. You know, it's like when I come into a store, the GM pays me $1 million. Who they say? Give them to the internet manager.
Why are they paying you? Because they're too busy appraising cars and they don't have time to do it.
No, you don't quite have it going. They don't pay me to come. They pay me to leave.
So actually, it's interesting you brought up the person in the store who's that evangelist for AI. We actually had April on the show on Monday, and that's exactly what she was talking about. She's like, yeah, some of my stores just aren't going to do it because they're just not that type of store. And some of those stores are going to use certain tools and not other tools because of the culture of the stores. I think they have 19 rooftops, something like that in Horn. But the thing that was interesting is very similar to the internet way back, and probably chatbots and other way back. She was like, well, you got to have an evangelist who can, it's a go-to person when things go wrong, who can say, oh yeah, by the way, you screwed up that thing? Okay, this is how you fix it. So what do you think?
I built the templates back in 2011 and 2012, and all these CRMs that are still in there today, for the most part, what I find, are not around anymore. They're managers or they're doing other things within the dealership. So that same champion that you had back then needs to be the champion for AI to teach all these, just like we taught CRM templates, or taught CRMs what to do.
Yeah.
I think it's just a more evolved three-dimensional version of that.
You need a real evangelist, because anybody that looks at their CRM now goes, Jesus Christ.
Who wouldn't want to have AI just automate all those tasks? I mean, nobody's calling 30 day. Oh, here's a 30 day. Here's a 3-year anniversary of your car, and nobody's calling saying that. They're calling them up saying, "Hey, what if I get you out of your car and get you into a new car with your payments and lower your payments at a lower interest rate? Would you do that?" And then they just walk into a self-inflicted gunshot wound because the rates are triple and the negative equity and all this other stuff. I mean, it's just an antiquated process. And really, I think the other thing that I see with AI-based communications, just forget these paragraphs and stories and all that, stuff.
You can say whatever you want. We have a disclaimer. It's all good.
For all that shit, I mean, you just have to, every single communication needs to be like a subject line of an email. One sentence, be done, get to the point to trigger another response back.
Right.
And not elaborating, pontificate onto all these different things. Answer the question.
I always say with salespeople, the mistake they make is they think it's about talking rather than listening. So we got to get the machines to listen to us to understand what it is, right? Crap in, crap out. It hasn't changed.
They do, but I'll tell you the interesting thing is with AI doesn't bitch about how many tasks they have. AI doesn't complain, well, here's this person.
They haven't unionized them yet.
Right. This person's not in the market. Oh, they're too flipped upside down. Oh, my manager doesn't like to take in EVs, or we're never going to be able to do this. Oh, they got a Fisker. Oh, Jesus Christ. All the things that go into that, all these biases and preconceived notions, AI doesn't have any of those. So really, it allows the salespeople, in my mind, or BDC, to focus on the first 72 hours just aggressively. So they're always dealing with the lowest hanging fruit, and then let AI go through. And then if somebody engages, then put them back into the funnel. But there's a lot of mundane redundancy. That's why there's so much turnover.
You mean the salesperson doesn't call the person after 2 years to see how their day's going and maybe sell another car?
No, and it's one of the biggest conspiracy theories going on. I mean, everybody's, because the managers know it's not happening. Yeah, they pretend like it's happening. I don't know. You find the best analogy. I'm trying to be politically correct.
The analogy is clear and clean. I start selling cars like a maniac. I'm outselling everybody. So I'm starting to throw a little bit of weight around, not intentionally. And a guy comes up to me and says, that deal you just made, it's half mine. Why? Well, I sold the guy's last car. When? 3 years ago. When, his last lease. When was the last time you talked to him? 3 years ago. That was the end of that conversation, and that was the end of his split. If we don't understand, I got to give him a copy of my book, Enter More on Demons. I say in my book, they're not annoyances, they're annuities. And to not understand how many deals lie within the deals, you just can't go wrong.
Right, or the spillover effect. That percolates down to their friend, their family. Oh, I got jacked around at XYZ dealership. Oh, don't worry, call my buddy Larry, and he'll take care of it.
Yeah. In the reverse world, folks, this would be having a fear of going into your service department because they may actually come back there if you do a service walk and actually stay in, retain, let the dealer back in, and maybe have a shot of selling them. They get put out of business.
They might call you back, and then there's more tasks that keep on happening in the CRM.
And then you sell more cars, and then you get in a different tax bracket. This could really get ugly.
You mean people come back for service, really?
If you do it right, him and I have been around a while, and we remember when smart used car managers, and they still do it, or desk managers say, if you haven't driven them yet, I don't really want to give you numbers. I want them excited. Why wouldn't they always say, have you taken them on a service walk yet? Because a lot of these people, they don't know, they don't understand, they have a fear and aversion to coming in. It's the dumbest thing of all time. You want to overwhelm them with information.
And speaking of information, if everybody has all the information right now from CarMax, Carvana at their fingertips, and right now the average trade-in percentage on a new car is 43%, and on a used car it's 26%. So if there's 100 transactions, there's 43 trades on new cars, and if there's 100 used car transactions, there's 26 trades. Yet, kind of like what we're talking about with CRM tests, no, we're making all these owner calls and these 5-year birthday calls.
Yeah, sure they are.
We also act like we're the same about thinking that everybody's asking the same questions when they're going back to the service department, and they're not, and that nobody has been online, nobody has any idea what their car is worth, and we're just going to hit them. I know this says this. Well, they've already been down the street, and we'll just hit them $3,000 less than that and see what they say, take their temperature, and then if you need help, come get me.
Wait a minute, I forgot.
Throw the hand grenade? Is that what you mean?
Right.
Wasn't it standard and de rigueur that if they like the salesman, they might buy and actually pay a little bit more? It's always back to the same thing. This guy knows his stuff inside and out. Okay? I mean, before I met him, I thought artificial intelligence referred to the United States Congress. But it still
That's still applicable today.
Still comes down to human beings. Sorry, it's Bernie Sanders. He doesn't want us to make money. The hell with him.
But I would say from a transparency standpoint, AI is not going to say, well, here, try it on this, see what they say, and then if you need me, come grab me, and all that stuff. It's just going to, there needs to be just a flow of information.
All right,
and by opening that up.
Let me put that in English because not everybody can understand, other than Ben Hadley, understand Brian Kramer. What he's saying is, while we fear AI, because we always fear the unknown, they don't have egos and they don't have insecurities. They're like, there's a reason why rookie salespeople do fabulous for the first 2
and they don't
3
care what
months.
the closing ratio is.
Tell them it's 11,000 down, boss. Okay. 2 months later, that seems like a lot, boss. Well, it wasn't a lot 2 months ago when you bought all the leather furniture and the big screen TV.
And you didn't know that 9% wasn't a good interest rate.
Right.
Oh yeah, I mean it was funny. Honda has done some interesting stuff around profit margin, both in Canada and the U.S. for dealers. And I think it was interesting. I was talking to some dealers after they announced this. Said, oh, yeah, we're just whacking off 50% of your profit margin on all new cars. And I said to the dealer, I said, so what are you going to do other than being angry? What are you going to do about that? He goes, well, I don't know. I'm like, well, wouldn't you want to, like, I don't know, sell used cars, figure out how to make money? He's like, I'm not sure yet. I'm so agitated. And I was like, wow. So what do you think's happening on the used car front, as you're saying, with trade-in appraisals, with new cars being at the highest rate ever in terms of inventory? Used cars obviously are still a great thing, right?
So now a lot of these big public aggregators are building these portals where you can get a value 12 times a month. So they're just obviously always...
For anybody that doesn't know, this is Brian's parole officer. Apparently your ankle bracelet is sleeping.
It wouldn't be the first time.
Listen, where you been all day? I mean, over here, over there.
I'm actually about to be an expat to Canada.
We've been trying to export him for months.
Oh, yeah? For months.
So we're talking about trade values, and I'm about to go into this range versus exact value discussion, right?
Oh.
So one of the things that we see, and this is actually extremely important. So this is big, so pay attention.
Paying attention.
Who's handling...
Excuse me, this is attention deficit. It's going to be tricky.
Who handles, so everybody wants to say, well, I do a range, and then I control the conversation, I get the customer in, and I'm doing this, and I'm the best there ever was, and the whole history of the world, and all that. So
notice he pointed at me when he said the best that ever was.
Oh,
I
okay.
appreciate it.
Who handles
20 later?
Who handles that after hours on your website, which is, from 8 p.m., 9 p.m. until 8 a.m.? Who's doing all that triage, or are they bouncing and just going to Carvana, CarMax, or someplace like that?
So lead forms don't work? Is that what you're saying?
Lead forms don't work. And we see, and that's just a fact.
They need something
I know,
with an AI that's going to work 24/7.
Right.
Correct.
And bring them down the funnel.
And they're not going to ask them, are they ready yet? Are they in the market yet? Or how many weeks before what's their time frame, or all those other things that.
When can you come down?
Yeah.
Doing it by rote instead of putting too much thought into
What's
the
your
process.
payoff?
Yeah.
How much do you owe? What do you think it's worth?
How bad is it?
AI just answers it, and we see that there's an 83% bounce rate on websites after hours when you don't, you start. Well, I think that I've changed my stance on this. You should start with a range, but then you have to keep going. And if you don't give the option to go into an exact value, it's an 83% bounce
But
rate.
the key is expediency, Brian. Like
Correct.
with everything else we're doing. If you wait too long, you lose the opportunity. People get upset if their computer takes 10 extra seconds to boot up. There's going to be a shooting one day in McDonald's because they didn't get their fries quick enough in the drive-through line.
Probably, but I'll tell you, as AI gets better, I was at a volleyball tournament 2 weeks ago on a Sunday and completely changed my entire flight booking via AI. No human interaction whatsoever. It gave me the option. I chose not to because it was just that easy. And I'm going through, and I knew it was whatever holiday it was recently.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, whatever. I wanted to see what happened with the AI. Could it actually do everything? And could it complete the cycle? And it did, and it exceeded my expectations.
Did it give you upgrades?
No, but it got me where I needed to be when I needed to.
Did it sell you upgrades?
It offered me upgrades.
I will tell you, I put Podium in a store.
Yeah.
Day 2, customer asked, do you have any specific Honda Pilot Elites? I don't even know what that is. It said, oh, yes, we do. Here's 3 vehicles. And progressed the conversation to an appointment. The customer came in the next day, bought a vehicle. Maybe not one of those 3. And I've watched this thing over and over and over because it's conversational and it's not trying to hammer the customer and put them in a round peg in a square hole.
Versus we don't have that color? You should come back later?
Yes.
But David Long always says, he and I were mentored by the same guy, John Melashenko, and he always says there's 2 types of dealerships, the one you know and the one you think you know. And AI allows you to actually, the GM or the dealer principal, because there's obviously always a big gap. I'm realizing now. I wasn't wise to that before in my former life.
Yeah.
But there's obviously that perception of what they think's happening versus what's really happening.
Yeah.
This AI allows you to connect the dots, in my opinion, so that it actually does happen before a human gets involved.
So that email to the dealer, they never answer that? Is that what you're saying?
What's an email open rate? What's the percentage? We see 11%. So is that what you want
If
to?
it's double digits, you're lucky.
I'm going to put all my chips on 11.
Email the dealer now.
The mentality that scared me and
Scan code.
informed me was
And it'll
my
start a
GM was
conversation.
leaving a store, and the operator said, "You have a call, boss," and he said, "Tell him I left." Why? What if the guy wants to buy 2 cars? His money will spend else. What if it's a small problem and instead of looking like a hero, you let him simmer all day and now he wants to become a serial killer?
Right, and that is what happened. I got a picture a few weeks ago of a guy who drove through the showroom. I used to get threatened with that all the time. If you don't do X, Y, Z, I'm going to drive this car through your MFing showroom and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, hey, I'll see you when you get here.
Like the gun in 60 seconds up the reverse?
Right. Well, like that original Roadhouse.
I remember I got that call. I'd never been treated so rudely or disrespectfully in my life in a dealership. I said, "Mom, I'll call you back."
And then she actually bought another car for you. Repeat referrals, people they're familiar with.
Yeah, and I
She
bumped her,
trusted
too.
you. She might have liked you.
You're actually buying a car for me, really?
I mean, I'm
Might
going
have
to
sent
shop
you a
the store
referral.
last Friday, and the salesperson responds and he gives me his schedule. Well, I'm leaving today at 5. If you need something before then, let me know.
Why
And-
delegate to an AI assistant?
Let me know, really?
Let me know if you want to come in tonight.
That's
I'll
right.
stay.
I see that.
Tom and Brian, so you don't
Yeah, I'll
think
be here, but only...
So you don't think our industry is as good as we think it's not? I'm talking about us. I just did a mystery shop at Scott Honda. Great folks. This guy came in a 3-piece suit for the class, immaculate, looked like a GQ model. And I usually say it's your sister that just had a baby to see how many people say, "Boy, you're..." No, this guy said it was his daughter. He's in his 50s. The guy actually looked him in the eye and said, "You need to come back with your daughter." What if he was buying her the car? What if she said, "Daddy, the stuff we do, if we video, you know what we should do? We should videotape their own performances and make them watch them. It'd be scarier than The Exorcist."
Well, I'll tell you, speaking of AI, there's some video tools now that are putting cameras around the dealership that are measuring up count. So I can't wait to see. Here's what my prediction is. In the next 6 months, we're going to find out that everything we thought about closing ratios is absolutely obsolete.
No.
You can throw it out the window.
I never liked to argue with Brian Kramer, but you're completely wrong. You dare tell me the up counts aren't accurate?
I agree with you. They're exactly wrong. So
You mean the data in the CRM, right? Is that what you're saying, boss?
So now we're gonna have to sit there and say it'd be okay with an 18%. Get the traffic off the log.
How rich would you have been at Germain if you had $1 for every time they said, no, it's okay, he wasn't a buyer?
Right. Or how about today? Every time they come in, like, where's their trade? I don't know. There's the end of the fleet. Don't mess up my deal. I'm like, well, how did they get here? Why are you asking all these questions, man? They just want to buy a car. Like, well, I want to know where their trade went. Is it at CarMax or like what? Like what? Or they have that much room in Naples, Florida, where everybody has a 20-foot front yard?
Brian, the explanation that you're seeking is this, and this is true. I can say this, I wasn't married yet.
We have a disclaimer. It's all good, Lord.
I was dating a female engineer a zillion years ago.
Okay.
And it was unusual because there weren't a lot of women in that field. She was brilliant. She was kind of cute too, but I'll tell you that later. Tom needs a thrill. His Netflix is off in his room. It's terrible. And I said, what's it like being a female engineer? She says, Larry, it's surreal. I go in a room with 10 guys and we show what we're doing, and 10 guys say, well, it's fine. In practical application, will it work in theory? It's the same concept. We get so wrapped up in the minutia. Let's show up. Let's have a plan. Let's sell cars. Let's make these people understand. I'm really glad to see you. Thank you so much. Oh, forget about that problem. I'm not going to let that stop you from getting something you deserve. Is that hard to do?
No, it's not, but maybe that's why we don't do it.
Richard, we could just measure the eye rolls. Yeah.
I mean,
thank you.
Well, thanks so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it. Great to see you.
thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey, if you missed us live, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcast.